Good morning. Today is Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. A Torah scroll has no punctuation. Just words, just letters formed into groups of words. There are no periods, no commas, no exclamation marks, no question marks, no quotation marks, no parentheses. All of that information is conveyed by the Trup. The Trup is the musical notation that tells us how to read the words of the Torah. Where there should be a comma, where there should be a period, where there should be a quote mark, where there should be a question mark, etc., etc. The Trup is part of the oral law. It is now written down using symbols, different marks, in most editions of the printed Chumash. So you see little marks above and below the words. Those are the Trup, but it does not appear in the Torah scroll itself. Of course, you have to learn it and memorize it in order to read from the Torah. Now, different communities have different styles of singing the Torah reading in the synagogue, different melodies of chanting the Torah in the synagogue, but everyone is using the same Trup, and it is conveying the same sense of the words, supplying the punctuation and the emotion of the words. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out that there is no word in the Torah that means ambivalence. But there is a Trup symbol for it. Excuse me. One of the notes of the Trup is called shalshelis. And shalshelis is very unusual. It only occurs a few times in the Torah. The note itself is remarkable. It's like a zigzag little symbol above the word. And it is read in a very unusual manner. The word is emphasized to pay attention to this word. And the first time that it occurs in the Torah is in this week's Torah portion. This symbol is meant to convey that the word it goes along with conveys some type of frozen motion. A person who is torn by inner conflict, a person who is experiencing a very deep sense of ambivalence. And it occurs within this context. The Torah tells us that God decided to destroy the city of Sodom because the people there were very wicked, very evil. And God decided that he was going to save Lot and his immediate family, Avraham's nephew Lot and his immediate family. Vayavo shnei hamalachim Sodoma ba'erev. Two angels. Remember, there were three angels that appeared to Avraham, to whom he showed hospitality. He thought they were guests, but they were really angels coming to tell him about future events. One told him about the prophecy of the birth of their son Yitzchak, and then the other two have the task to go to Sodom. Their job, their mission is to save Lot and his immediate family before God destroys the entire city. These two angels come to Sodom in the evening. Lot Yoshev Bashar Sodom. Lot is sitting in the gates of the city. That's a phrase that is used in the Torah to indicate that Lot was a dayan, a judge. The judges would sit in court at the gate of the city. So this phrase means that Lot had really a very high position in this city of Sodom. He was one of the judges of the city, a very distinguished position. Vayomru ha'anashim el Lot, and the people, so Lot invites them into his house for hospitality. He learned about hospitality from Avraham and Sarah, so he invites them in. Vayomru ha'anashim el Lot, these men, right, they look like men, but they're really angels. They say to Lot, Od miluchapo, who else in your immediate family is here in this city? Chasan, uvanecha, vanosecha, your sons-in-law, any other children. V'chol asher lecha be'ir, hotzei min ha'makam, because everyone who is in your immediate family needs to gather here at your house in order for us to extricate you from this city, to rescue you, to save you. Ki mashchisim anachnu es hamakom hazeh, because we have come as emissaries of God to destroy this city. Ki gadla tzakasam es b'nei Hashem, because the cries have reached God, their wickedness, their evil ways. Vayishalchenu Hashem l'shachasa, and God sent us to destroy the city, but first, tzu'u min hamakom hazeh, we are to take you out. So, Vayetze Lot vayedaber el chasanav lochei benosav. Lot, the only people, presumably, who were in his immediate family, who were not there, I guess, in the house with him, were his sons-in-law, the men who had married his daughters. These men are from Sodom. Vayomer kumu tzu'u min hamakam hazeh ki mashkis Hashem es ha'ir. So Lot said to his sons-in-law, remember, they're his sons-in-law, but they're originally from Sodom. They're native Sodomites. He says to them, quickly come with me to my home, because the city is about to be destroyed. Vayehi kimetzachek be'enei chasanav. And his sons-in-law thought it was a joke. They didn't take him seriously. They laughed at him, and they did not come. Ukmo hashachar alav v'ya'itzu hamalachim below lemor, and it was as the morning was beginning to dawn, the angels pressed Lot to say, "Kum, get up now. Kaches ishacha v'shtei bonosecha hanimtzos. Take whoever's here. His wife and his 2 daughters were there. That's all. Everyone else is going to be left behind because they refused to come. And we have to leave right now. Because if we don't leave right now, you and your family are going to be killed along with the other people of Sodom." Vayismama. And Lot hesitated. And that's where we find this notation, this shalsheles. Vayismama. And Lot hesitated. Vayachziku ho'anoshim biyado ubiyad ishto biyad shtei benosav bechemlas Hashem alav. And the angels took a hold of him physically and his wife and his 2 daughters. Vayinichu michutz le'ir. And they took them, physically had to take them outside of the city, so that they would not be killed together with the other inhabitants of Sodom. Vayismama, and Lot hesitated. This hesitation is the essence of Lot's identity. Remember, Lot came on his own, voluntarily, together with Avraham and Sarah, his aunt and his uncle and his aunt, on this grand mission that God sends Avraham and Sarah on, to go to Israel, to begin a new people. And yet, at a certain point, remember we discussed this last week, they argued, and they separated. And Lot went to Sodom. He could have gone anywhere, but he went to Sodom, in spite of knowing that the people there were wicked and immoral, the opposite of everything that he saw in the personalities and the character and the household of Avraham and Sarah. And Lot assimilates into this community. V'Lot Yoshe b'shar ha'ir. Lot becomes a judge. That's a very high position to be in a position where you are making decisions about the lives of the people there. That's a very high position. So he assimilates into this community. And his daughters marry men from Sodom. That's what the narrative is telling us. And in other words, Lot sees himself as belonging in Sodom. And he doesn't want to leave. So even when these angels say to him, you either come with us or you're going to lose your lives, by Yismama, with the Shalshelis, Lot has this inner ambivalence. Should I go or should I stay? Because Lot sees himself as belonging in Sodom. And because he belongs there, he doesn't want to leave. Now, Lot is either very naive, or he's fooling himself, he's lying to himself, because the residents of Sodom clearly see him as an outsider. Whatever efforts he has made to assimilate into this society have been completely unfulfilled. I skipped a few verses in the middle. The people of the city of Sodom see that Lot is taking in these guests into his home. And so people gather around his house because they're angry with him, because one of the ethos of Sodom is you don't show any kindness to outsiders, to strangers. Vayomru, and they say to him, Gesh hala, get out of our way. We want to get at these people that came into your house. We want to kill them. Vayomru, and they say, Ha'echad ba lagur. This man, Lot, he came to stay with us. And again, lagur means a traveler, like a tourist, who's coming on a short trip. Of course, the people in Sodom see Lot as an outsider, an interloper. He's not one of us. He just came here for a little while. Lot, of course, sees himself as assimilated, as a leader of the community. Vayishpot shafot, and he comes as an interloper, and now he's judging us. And they want to attack. And what these people say to Lot, yelling this mob outside his house, they say, you don't belong here. No matter how long you've been here, no matter how entrenched you think you are, you're not one of us. And they want to do to him worse than they want to do to the guests, to the visitors. And even his sons-in-law, I mean, they married his daughters. They're married. His sons-in-law. He was a joke. You're telling us we should go with you? You're a joke. You don't belong here. We're from here. We're staying here. We're not paying any attention to you. That's his sons-in-law. And even with all of that, with a mob outside his door, with his sons-in-law deprecating him, Vayismama, he hesitates. Because he's invested too much of himself into blending into this Sodom society. Vayismama, and he hesitated. He was asking himself this question, who am I? Where do I belong? He did not know. He was not sure. Because having tried so hard to become one of them, he finds it almost impossible to tear himself away, knowing the danger that he is facing. And he literally needs to be carried out to save his life. Avraham does not hesitate. Avraham has a clear answer to the question, who am I? Where do I belong? Avraham makes a great point of getting along with his neighbors, and at the same time he is clearly willing to stand apart from them on matters of principle. I've shared with you before, Avraham is referred to early in the Torah as Avraham al-Ivri, which means Avraham who came from the other side of the river, because remember, Avraham originally came from a land east of the Jordan River. So he is in Israel, he's one who came from the other side of the river. And our rabbis say that it's not only a geographical description, it is a character description, as if to say, even if everyone in the world is on one side of the river, believing in paganism, believing in multiple gods and worshiping idols, and Avraham is an iconoclast by himself on the other side of the river, serving one God, Avraham is willing, when it comes to a matter of principle, to be the only person, to be an iconoclast, to stand by himself if that's what's necessary. In next week's Torah portion, we're going to learn the Parsha Chayei. Sarah dies. Avraham needs to find a burial place for his wife Sarah. And he speaks to the people who live in this place. It's near what is today Hebron, the city of Hebron, southern part of Israel. And he says to them, Ki ger v'soshav anochi imachem. I want to purchase a burial plot to bury my wife Sarah. Ki ger v'soshav anochi imachem, because I am a ger and a soshav. The word ger means foreigner. The word soshav means resident. The phrase is very, very curious, because those two words seem to contradict each other. A ger is someone who is an outsider. A toshav is someone who is a citizen. How can you be an outsider and a citizen at the same time? They're opposites. And I've shared with you before, the Rav comments, Rav Yossi Soloveitchik comments, this is exactly the balance that Avraham achieved in his life. On the one hand, he was a toshav. He was a citizen where he lived. He cared about the people. He was extremely kind and polite to the people. He observed the rules. He was part of the larger society in terms of human needs, in terms of societal priorities. But at the same time, he was a ger. He was an outsider in his beliefs, in his practices, in his morality. And he was fine being the only one who would stand up for one God. He was fine being the only one who would stand up for the principles of kindness and hospitality to strangers as an ethos and a way to serve God, as we described before. He was able to achieve being both a ger v'soshav. And you know what the response was? This is fascinating. Because it's one thing for Avraham to take this position, which of course is what we try to emulate today, to be part of our wider society, but at the same time to be apart from it in our morality, in our practices, in our faith to the Torah, to God. You know what the neighbors say when he says these words? They respond, in next week's Torah portion, Nasi Elokim ata b'sochenu, you are a prince of God. We respect you. Yes, you have different practices. Yes, you have different beliefs, but we respect you. The shalsheles, the ambivalence of Lot, is the story of many, I would say probably the majority, of Jews in the modern period who hesitate in terms of identifying themselves as either part of the wider society in which we find ourselves or apart from it. And here's the thing. And Lot teaches, we learn this from Lot, and it has been true throughout our entire history, and it is true today. When we hesitate, when we try to assimilate in order to get along better with our neighbors, we lose ourselves. Today's anti-Semitism includes real danger, physical danger, like what happened in Amsterdam a few days ago. And actually, it's been continuing at a little bit lower level of drama, but it's been continuing. And it's appearing in other cities in Europe, and as we see it here in Canada and across the world. Last week, my brother came to visit for the wedding. My brother lives in Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, and because of his work, he often travels to Germany. Very often. He was in a city in Germany, and the rabbi of the synagogue, the rabbi of the shul, Orthodox rabbi, the rabbi of the shul said to my brother, in this city, I don't remember which city it was, in this city, don't wear a kippah outside. Get yourself a baseball hat. Don't wear a kippah. My brother would identify himself as a Haredi Jew. He dresses and looks like a Haredi Jew. And in that city, he does not wear a kippah. He wears a baseball hat. And I have said this before. When there is the threat of actual physical danger, a Jewish person, should take the measures necessary to protect themselves from harm. I believe that that's the right thing. It doesn't make me feel good to say that, but I think that physical safety comes first. But aside from that extreme, our response to anti-Semitism, the type that we see all around us on an everyday basis now, which I have never seen this in my lifetime, but the type of anti-Semitism we see today, our response, our reaction must be no reaction. In the sense that we have pride in who we are, we have pride in the Torah that we follow, and we have certainty in our mission of teaching morality to the world. We will not allow anyone else to define us. We will not accept the view of us from others. We have certainty in our identity and in our role in this world. Rabbi Sachs wrote, non-Jews respect Jews who respect Judaism, and they are embarrassed by Jews who are embarrassed by Judaism. Don't be like Lot. Don't be ambivalent. Today is the time, just as it was at that dramatic moment for Lot, that we have to be very clear about who we are and where we belong and how we will and will not integrate into a larger society. We have to emulate Avraham and not hesitate like Lot. My friends, I wish you a good day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.